LGA 2011, also called Socket R, is a CPU socket by Intel. It replaces Intel's LGA 1366 and LGA 1567 in the performance and high-end desktop and server platforms. The socket is 2011 protruding pins which touch contact points on the underside of the processor. Socket A uses QPI to connect the CPU to additional CPUs. DMI 2.0 is used to connect the processor to the PCH. The memory controller and 40 PCIe lanes are integrated on the CPU. On a secondary processor, an extra A4 PCIe interface replaces the DMI interface. As with its predecessor LGA 1366, there is no provision for integrated graphics. The socket was released on November 14, 2011, and supports 4 DDR3 SDRAM memory channels with 1 unbuffered DIMM per channel, as well as 40 PCIe 2.0 or 3.0 lanes. LGA 2011 also has to ensure platform scalability beyond 8 cores and 20 MB of cache. LGA 2011 socket is used by Sandy Bridge EEP and Ivy Bridge EEP processors with the corresponding X79 and C600 series chipsets. LGA 2011-1, an updated generation of the socket and the successor of LGA 1567, is used for Ivy Bridge X CPUs, which were released in February 2014. LGA 2011 v3 is another updated generation of the socket, used for Horsewell E CPUs, which were released in August 2014. Updated socket generations are physically similar to LGA 2011, but the used electrical signals and ILM keying prevent them from being backward compatible with older CPUs. Physical design and socket generations. Intel CPU sockets use the so-called independent loading mechanism retention device that holds the CPU in place while applying an exact amount of force required for a CPU to be properly seated. As part of their design, ILMs have differently placed protrusions which are intended to mate with cutouts in CPU packagings. These protrusions, also known as ILM keying, have the purpose of preventing installation of incompatible CPUs into otherwise physically compatible sockets, and preventing ILMs to be mounted with a 180-degree rotation relative to the CPU socket. Different variants of the LGA 2011 socket and associated CPUs come with different ILM keying, which makes it possible to install CPUs only into generation matching sockets. CPUs that are intended to be mounted into LGA 2011-0, LGA 2011-1 or LGA 2011 v3 sockets are all mechanically compatible regarding their dimensions and ball pattern pitches, but the designations of contacts are different between generations of the LGA 2011 socket and CPUs, thus making them electrically and logically incompatible. Original LGA 2011 socket is used for Sandy Bridge EEP and Ivy Bridge EEP processors, while LGA 2011-1 is used for Ivy Bridge X CPUs, which were released in February 2014. LGA 2011 v3 socket is used for Horsewell E CPUs, which were released in August 2014. Chipsets. Information for the Intel X79 and C600 series chipset can be found in the table below. The Romley platform was delayed approximately 1 quarter, allegedly due to a SAS controller bug. The X79 appears to contain the same silicon as the C600 series, with ECS having enabled the SAS controller for one of their boards, even though SAS is not officially supported by Intel for X79. Compatible processors. Desktop. Information for the desktop LGA 2011 socket processors can be found in the table below. All models support MMX, SSE, SSE2, SSE3, SSSE3, SSE 4.1, SSE 4.2, AVX, Enhanced Intel Speed Step Technology, Intel 64, XD-bit, TXT, Intel VTX, Intel VTD, Turbo Boost, AES-NI, Smart Cache, Hyper-threading, except the C1 stepping models, which lack VTD. Sandy Bridge E, Ivy Bridge E and Horsewell E processors are not bundled with standard air-cooled CPU coolers. Intel is offering a standard CPU cooler, and a liquid-cooled CPU cooler, which are both sold separately. Sandy Bridge E and Ivy Bridge E are compatible with the X79 chipset. Horsewell E is compatible with the X99 chipset. The X79 chipset allows for increasing the base clock, Intel calls it CPU strap, by 1.00A, 1.25A, 1.66A, or 2.50A. The CPU frequency is derived by the BCLK times the CPU multiplier. Server information for the server LGA 2011 socket processors can be found in the table below. All models support MMX, SSE, SSE2, SSE3, SSSE3, SSE 4.1, SSE 4.2, AVX, Enhanced Intel Speed Step Technology, Intel 64, XD-bit, TXT, Intel VTX, Intel VTD, AES-NI, Smart Cache. Not all support hyper-threading and turbo boost. Independent loading mechanism is available in two variants, square and narrow. References